कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं हमारी विशिष्ट अतिथि प्रोफेसर नुसरत परवीन खान जी को अपनी विचाराभिव्यक्ति के लिए आमंत्रित करूंगी। उसके पहले एक छोटा सा परिचय। आप समस्त शिक्षा दीक्षा लखनऊ विश्वविद्यालय, अलीगढ़ विश्वविद्यालय एवं डॉक्टरेट की उपाधि जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया विश्वविद्यालय नई दिल्ली से की है। आपके द्वारा विभिन्न राष्ट्रीय व अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठियों में शोध पत्रों का वाचन किया है एवं आपके द्वारा वृहद एवं लघु शोध परपेटियों का संचालन सफलतापूर्वक किया गया है। आपकी 12 पुस्तकें अब तक प्रकाशित हो चुकी हैं। आपके विभिन्न राष्ट्रीय एवं अंतर्राष्ट्रीय चैनल पर परिचर्चाओं में शामिल रहे हैं। आपको अपने बीच पाकर हम हर्षित हैं। मैम प्लीज आप आएं।
Vice Chancellor Professor T.N. Singh, Honorable Justice Pradeep Kumar Srivastava, Professor R.P. Rai Sahab, Dean Faculty of Law, BHU, and all other dignitaries on the dais, many of the faculty members of the dais, and all the participants to this seminar. First of all, I would like to congratulate Professor Ranjan, who is the HOD Law Faculty Kashi Vidyapeeth, to choose a topic which is very relevant with the time. I think this subject matter really needs discussion, and right now there can be very strong views which can come out of it. So while I will speak on the topic for today, initially I want to say that I will be absolutely differing with my previous speaker, since I start with taking the marriage as an institution and a very integral part of the society. I'll not take it as just between man and women. Of course, when a marriage relationship enters into, or a marriage takes place, basically it is between man and women, and it is a very naturally existing social institution, and that has not been present only today. It has been present in one or the other form in all known societies. In fact, it existed prior to the existence of states and the legal system. It's a unique relationship. No other companionship or relationship provides such grand potential for the benefiting individuals and society as the lifetime covenant union of man and women. Marriage is established by the human society to control and regulate the life of the human beings. It is basically the cornerstone of the society. It confers status on the parties. It gives status to the children, issues out of it. Though entered into by individuals, it is basically, but it is in the witness of large number of people. It is a status of a public character. It is the basis on which the framework of the whole civil society is built, and as such, it is subjected to some type of laws and dictates in almost all societies, all countries. To begin with, I'll say the United States Supreme Court in a case Minor versus Hill noted that marriage is an institution in the maintenance and purity of which the public is deeply interested. It is the foundation of the family and of the society, without which there would be neither civilization nor progress. Then our own Supreme Court, in one of the very famous Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India case, observed marriage is the very foundation of a civilized society. The relation which comes in the form of marriage is once formed, the law steps in and binds the parties to various obligations and liabilities thereunder. It is an institution, the maintenance of which is the public at large is deeply interested. It is a foundation of the family and then society, and then no civilization can exist without this relationship. Especially in our country now, we know that we have a very established and known family system. And this social institution of marriage is the biggest strength of this diversified countries. Marriage is deeply influenced by the religions also, like in the Hindu law, it is a sacrosanct and inviolable union. It is also an eternal union, a union which subsists not merely during the life, but for all lives to come. According to the Christians, marriage is a permanent and exclusive contract of love between a man and woman. It is a covenant of love and is the basis of marriage. Then when we talk of marriage in Islam, it is intended to create multiple purposes which include spiritual tranquility and peace and cooperation and partnership in fulfilling divine mandate. Muslim considers marriage as bonding and unites a man and women in solemn matrimony, which is the foundation that gives rise to the family, and firmly believe that there is no way a real proper family could ever exist out of the wedlock, and the way it has been legislated also. Now, since we are talking in today's context, and India is also gradually transforming into a modern, liberal, progressive society. This modern, liberal, progressive society focuses on individual autonomy, which I do agree that individual is important, but it should not be forgotten that Indian society since time immemorial is the way of being, and it has been collective. This becomes particularly important in the context of various institutions that works in tandem with the basic fiber of the society. Now I will look at the changing scenario with the judicial system. However, there are many cases, again I will talk like Saroj Rani versus Sudarshan Kumar Chadda case, where the court upheld the constitutionality of the Section 9 of Hindu Marriage Act, which deals with restitution of conjugal rights on the ground that this particular section and the logic behind this performs an important social purpose for preserving the marriages. Then in Inderjeet Singh Grewal versus State of Punjab, the court held that it is the duty to safeguard the institution of marriage. It observed conjugal rights are not merely creature of statute, but inherent in the very institution of the marriage. The court should not give up the effort of reconciliation merely on the ground that there is no chance for reconciliation of one party or the other, say that there is no probability of living together. Therefore, it is merely a misgiving that courts are not concerned and obliged to save the sanctity of the marriage. But the present position in regard to this obligation to protect the sanctity of marriage is in complete contrast to the decisions given by the courts with regard to live-in relations, with regard to same-sex marriages, then of course decriminalization of the adultery, because such decisions give a serious blow to the institution of marriage, which we Indians should hold in a very high esteem. Now, to begin with, talking about the first case whereby I think all this discussion started, which we call about the repeal of anti-adultery law, Joseph Shine versus Union of India, a judgment which came in 2018, whereby Section 497 of the IPC have been said to be, we know that this 497 is an imported concept, and it is so worded that adultery, though speaking of women as material possession and emphasizing on the passivity of the female sexuality, both as a matter of mere male importance or their agency alone, while Supreme Court moves ahead and scrap the anti-adultery law, removing it from the lens of itself, it's a hard instance. Though somewhere I agree with former Chief Justice of India, Justice Deepak Mishra, who was one of the judges in this particular case, whereby he said that the right husband is not master of the women. The subordination, I mean, in the context of right, it can be correct, but I don't agree with this. The subordination of a married woman to her husband and of women to man in general has outlined its time, and this is what he said. And the court's rationale for saying that man is the master of the women was basically arising out of case Puttuswamy, wherein we know that recognition of right to privacy is one of the fundamental rights. According to the court, treating adultery as an offense would tantamount the state entering into the real private realm. In this case, I will just quote Justice Chandrachud, who said that people must be free to choose their sexual choices even within marriage, and that the country must be liberal and accepting of the same. Justice Chandrachud observed, human sexuality is an essential aspect of identity. Choices in matter of sexuality are reflective of the human desire for expression. Sexuality cannot be constituted purely as a physiological attribute. In its associational attribute, it links up with the human desire to be intimate with a person of one's choice. Sharing of physical intimacy is a reflection of choice. It allows human individuals to make their choice in the consensual sphere. The Constitution acknowledges that even in the most private of zone, the individual must have the ability to make essential decisions. Sexuality cannot be disassociated from the human personality. To be a human involves the ability to fulfill sexual desires, etc. So the law on adultery enforces a construct of marriage where one partner is to see towards sexual autonomy. Now, privacy, though of an individual right, to be protected as long as it does not adversely affect the public at large. This is my view. Privacy, I somehow agree with Justice Chandrachud and Justice Deepak Mishra, but privacy is good or to be protected as long as it is not affecting the public at large. Maintaining social order is the first and foremost objective of any law. Fundamental rights cannot be granted, setting aside the norms set for the maintenance of social order. When it comes to conflict between infringement of privacy and public interest, reasonable care must be taken to choose as to what is more important. It is individual interest, which cannot override public interest. The famous maxim, salus populis suprema lex, which means public welfare is the highest law and must be maintained in the democracy. But the libertarian view that the government have no entitlement to pry or to look into the private lives of the citizen, much less regulate, is a concept which finds favor with the young couples of the 21st century. Yet it is consistently libertarian, as true libertarianism would insist that individuals also pay for the consequences of their choice. I will repeat this. It is a libertarian's view, as I say, but as a true libertarianism must insist that individuals have to pay for the consequences of their choices. Privacy in its simplest sense allows each human being to be left alone in a core which is inviolate.